Hi, so today I'm going to do a new type of video for me. This is a review slash trail, just information on the Paul Bunyan and Heartland State Trails, but it's just for the Paul Bunyan because that's the one I've been on. So this trail is a 124 miles to go from state park to state park, paved trail in northern Minnesota, and you can see it running right around here is Minneapolis, and you can see it running from here up to here. So it goes from Crow Wing State Park in the south to Lake Bemidji in the north, and it was a great experience. It's paved and mostly flat except for sections right here, and you can see on this little map insert, caution up to 8% slopes and curves, and these are the only sections of the hills, as is there are hills on this Shingle Beat Connection Trail. And I'm just pulling up my notes to make sure I tell everything that I should. So I did this trail in 2 days because I did not have a lot of time. I went from Crow Wing State Park in the south all the way up to Lake Bemidji State Park in the north. And for those thinking about avoiding all these hills, but this sort of scenic area right here, this trail alternate takes about 7.7 miles off of your distance. I didn't end up taking this trail, just this section, just because I was trying to make time and I was tired. But there's only a few challenging sections on this. It's mostly relatively moderate uphills and downhills that if you ride in any kind of area with any kind of elevation change, you're probably going to be used to. There was one section going northward that was particularly steep, but it's less than 50 yards as I remember it. And if you take this alternate, you have to make sure that you carefully follow the trail signs or the bike route signs, because it ends up putting you onto a road for a little bit. Perfectly safe little small road with a shoulder, but you end up on a road for a little bit, and then you end up in Walker at the park, and there's signs for following the trail from there. Now this is the state DNR map, as you can see from up here, files.dnr.state, and this really doesn't show you the amount of services that are actually available, such as water, food, and shelter. Now, since I only went and got shelter at the beginning and the end, I can only really tell you about what's obvious from going through. Funny enough, essentially water is available at every, let's see, just making sure I tell the place. The towns that had public water are Pine River, which is up here. In addition to, you can get water in Brainerd, but Pine River, Bacchus, Walker, Guthrie, Lake Bemidji State, and Lake Bemidji State Park. And every other town except for that had, other than Benedict, has food in restaurants or stores, which means you can get water there as well. Those places where listed you can get water are places you can get water any time of day. So they're public pumps that are freely available, which is really nice if you're going through after 5 o'clock or before 9. And let's see. And there's only a small number of places to actually stop and camp. There's Crow Wing State Park down here, which has campgrounds, and a very easy, straightforward system set up for arranging your parking if you get there before the rangers are there. You just, yeah, there's instructions at the gate. And there's supposed to be some shelters here north of Brainerd. I didn't end up seeing them, but I wasn't really looking. And if you're that close to the state park, I'd recommend just going there. There's 2 primitive campsites that are first come first serve that are on the left side out, that are on the west side of the trail, south of Pine River. And there's a sign for them. You'll notice it if you're keeping your eyes out when you're in that area. And then there's a shelter right here that is there's no restrooms or water nearby, but as long as you've brought what you need for overnight, you'll be fine. And there's also another one right here, because I didn't take the alternate through that way, didn't take the route through that way. I can't tell you exactly what they're like, but it's listed as shelter, bathrooms. And then essentially your next place that you can stay is for camping is Lake Bemidji State Park. And this in Bemidji there's hotels, in Benedict there's hotels, in Walker I believe there's a hotel, but there's not really signage to tell you that these things are out there. And what's funny is I've been on the C&O Canal and Gap trails the entire way twice now. And it would be a very nice upgrade to these places if the towns, instead of having signs actively saying, do not stay here, do not stay in this nice big open space that we've got for our park that's not being used by anybody, if they designated a section of, okay, here's a place where a couple of people can set up places to camp, because then you're going to stay there, you're going to get food and all that kind of thing. I definitely would have bailed if I'd had a place to like if in La Porte or Hackensack there was a sign saying, oh no, go ahead, camp, it's fine, let's go to the pizza place across the street. But in that case, that's the general information about that. There are also a number of bike shops which are south of Pine. There's one that's in Pine River, and there's another that's in, I believe it's either Nieswell, no, it's Merrifield. And when you go through Merrifield, there's a bunch of shops, and a bike shop and a bike rental shop on the west side from the trail. And all these towns are really nice. They're charming, they're nice to go through, they're nice to look at. This is a very nice, pleasant trail. Now for the quality of the trail, it's very well paved for most of it. There's a particularly bad section, and it's from about 10 miles south of Pine River to 10 miles north of it. And the problem with it in that section is it's a lot of just straight cracks across the road that have been patched in with asphalt. And the patching helps, but it's the problem that even with the patching it's like a low frequency rumble strip. And I took a serpentine pattern across it in order to try to minimize how much bumps I got. But overall, like, it's a really nice trail, especially if you're used to things like the C&O and Gap Trail like I am. Beyond that, the landscapes that you go through, you go from sort of very verdant, deciduous forests down here in the south to, and you go through you go around lakes and through wetlands, and you go through meadows and prairies, and you go through ranch land, some things that look like something you'd see out of a Western video game or a Western movie. And then you end up transitioning slowly to more of coniferous pine forest as you get northward. And there's a lot of wildlife that you're going to be able to see on there as well. Just in 2 days, I saw about a half dozen wild turkeys, several bucks, a dozen does, a black bear that was just off the trail, about 10 feet from me, and I believe a fisher which was quite cool. Let's see. And the one thing to note, at least at this particular moment, down here going into Brainerd from Crow Wing State Park, there is some construction that's going on. And I have a hard time... Yeah, so right about here, there's some construction going on. And the ranger station, if you wait for them to let you get the map from them in the morning, because I don't have the map anymore, but their alternate route essentially has you take a left here, and then you go follow some trails that take you essentially up this way. You can go on the route, but be warned that the trail is torn up in places, and unless you're really good at pathfinding or the weather's really nice, you're going to be dragging your bike through some sand and standing there looking around trying to figure out where to go. And if you're lucky, construction workers will be there and they'll help direct you to where to go. I went the construction route, the construction zone route, and I went on the alternate route that the Park Service recommends. I would recommend the Park Service route. Let's see. So overall, I would definitely highly recommend this trail. It's a good amount of distance to be able to go 4 days on, because you can go, if you're trying to be careful with your money, you can go from Crow Wing, start your day there, stop in Walker, which is about, I forget, from Crow Wing State Park to Walker, 84 miles. Yeah, I'm reading that right. Which, it's a long day, but it's definitely doable since this is paved, and if you've got long summer days, you've got a lot of time for it. And then you can go up to Lake Bemidji State Park, stay there for the night, and then turn back around and come back the other way. And if you really wanted to, you could go from Walker out to the two other branches out here for the Heartland State Trails. And essentially, if the communities on this trail started using recognizing the value of the trail, which is right there for them, in the same way that the Gap Trail does, and if these maps started showing you the services that are available in the same way that the Gap Trail does, this would be just an excellent choice for people who don't want to necessarily be as off-road as they are on the Gap Trail. And it would be just a great gem for people to be able to go on. Because essentially, like, if more towns had camping or signs telling you, hey, there's Annie's Pizza Shop is to the right, and if you want to go get ice cream, it's just over there, quarter mile up on the left hand side from the trail, and there's a bed and breakfast over there. If there were signs for that, it would be probably just spectacular, I'd say. And this trail is really, really nice as is. The main downside, I'd say, at the moment is the patch sections in Pine River, and the closeness to traffic in some places. But essentially, you'll have like 20 yards of forest between you and like a busy 2-lane road. It's not terrible, but you notice it and you hear it. But a lot of time you get to be just completely out by yourself in changing landscapes, where you're very much alone from other places. And it's very approachable as a trail because it's like very flat, and because water is really pretty easy to get. Food, likewise, very, very easy to get. As long as you're rolling through at daytime, these towns are going to have places for you. Also, Pine River has a very nice visitor center, and so does Hackensack. Yep, Hackensack has a visitor center that's very nice. And I'm trying to think of where else I saw. And also, be very careful for following the signs for the trail going through Brainerd. I ended up getting turned around and did the same loop, like did a loop back to where I was, and gave myself an extra 4 miles for the day. So be cautious of the signage there. There's plenty of signs, it's well marked, and it's a nice trail. This trail the entire way is almost entirely off-road. Where you're on-road, it's small town streets, and you're fine. And yeah, so I hope people appreciate this information, and I hope people get to try out this wonderful trail that I haven't seen many people talk about before. Thanks. Bye.